So you have just joined this game called Blox Fruits and you don't really have any idea what you're doing. Well, don't worry no more. This video will teach you all things you have to know in order for you to go from a complete noob to an insane player. So make sure you watch till the end. Today's shoutouts go to these guys. If you want a shoutout in the next video, just leave a like and tell me in the comments what level are you right now in Blox Fruits. So first of all, we can say for sure that the Blox Fruits is in fact a RPG game. I mean, it's not 100% like the most famous RPG games such as World of Warcraft and so, but it definitely has some RPG aspects to it. And one of them is the experience and level system. It is used to determine how far the player has advanced in his journey of the game, and that's the main factor that you determine how strong of a player is. The higher the level, the stronger the player, and these are just some basics that I am sure you already know a lot about. So as a beginner you will enter the game as the level 1. And aside from obtaining items and other valuables, your primary goal should be reaching the max level, which is the level 2550. Current max level is when I am making this video. But how do you level up? Well, each new level will require a bit more experience than the previous one, and that experience can be earned through defeating various enemies, and of course completing quests. Quests will be your main source of experience and you can activate them at these NPCs called quest givers. Every couple of enemy types are on different areas and every area has its own quest giver, so you will find a lot of quest givers in your journey. So that's how you earn experience, but how does it enhance the player and make it stronger? Well, we have this so-called stats and stat points. How does it work? Well, each time you level up you will gain 3 stat points, which you can apply to one of these 5 stats. Melee enhances your fighting style and energy. Defense increases your defense and boosts your health. Sword increases the strength, damage output of your sword. Gun increases damage of your gun. And Blox Fruit enhances your fruit that you are currently using. We will explain these items later. But which stat should you place your stat points in? Well, as a beginner you should find a balance between melee, defense and Blox Fruit. What about gun and sword? Well, as a beginner you shouldn't focus on guns and swords since the main way of killing enemies will be the Blox Fruit for you, and you need melee and defense for health and energy. Endgame players tend to max these 3 stats and that is the build that the most players use. But of course there are some hybrid build that balance all 5 stats, but that's for a bit more advanced players. Tell me in the comments if you want me to make a hybrid build guide. There are a few types of enemies in Blox Fruits, but we will focus on 2 which are normal enemies and bosses. Why is that so? Well, just like we said, as a beginner player you will focus mostly on getting as much XP as you can, and these enemies will do just that. And what are other enemies? Well, that's the raid bosses, sea beasts and other sea events, which can also give experience, but they are mostly used for getting fragments and other. But now the normal enemies are the ones that you are going to find yourself fighting with the most. That is because of quests. As we already said, quests are given by quest givers and they will reward you with huge amounts of experience. But what does the quest require you to do? Well, you will need to defeat the normal enemies. These enemies spawn relatively close to each other, so you can and should kill them all at once because it's much faster. But again, there are a ton of different enemies when it comes to normal enemies, and all of that comes down to what island you're in. So let's go over seas and islands. Currently there are 3 seas. First sea, the one that you're probably currently in. Second sea, the sea where the game actually gets really interesting. And the third sea for tryhards that hunt 30M bounty. Now, since you're probably in the first sea, we will focus mostly on it. So, here's the starter island of the first sea. You will buy your first fruit here and get started to the game. If you beat this island you're in. And the next island is jungle. This island is very special because here you can get the best sword for the first and second sea, the saber. Only thing you have to do in order to get this sword is complete the Shanks puzzle and kill the Shanks boss, who will give you this sword at the end, which some may find a bit difficult, but it's definitely worth it since it is one of the highest damage output out of all swords in the game. Now Pirate Village Island, where you can find the blacksmith who will upgrade your sword for some materials in Pelly, which I definitely recommend that you do. And also here you can find the NPC who will teach you your first fighting style, which is the dark step. I mean, you had combat fighting style before that, but who counts combat as a real fighting style? I don't. Now the desert island. Nothing interesting for beginners except that you can buy the swordsman hat here from an NPC called Hassan for 150k Pelly. I would say it's pretty decent, but the next island is incredibly important, and that is the Frozen Village Island. Why is it so important? Well, here you can find the ability teacher who will teach you some of the most important abilities that you will use throughout your whole Blox Fruits journey. And those abilities are: air jump, allows you to jump multiple times. or as some players call it the hockey, enhances physical attacks and weapons and allows you to damage elemental users, and flash step, basically teleport to a short distance. So it's very important for you to get these abilities. All combined these abilities cost 135k pelly, which you should be able to easily get at this point in the game. Next island is Marine Fortress, and this has nothing special except a weapon Delar, but since you should already have Saber you don't have to worry about it. But the next one is again an important one, and that is Sky Islands. They are important because at the bottom island of it you can find the mad scientist who will sell you the electric fighting style, which is an insane fighting style for the first sea. And now the prison island. There you can find a couple of different bosses. There are only bosses on this island, which is so good. Why? Well, that is because you can just server hop and keep killing these bosses, which is an insanely fast method of getting money and experience. So you will beat this island very fast, and then you will come to Colosseum, which is one of the most boring islands in my opinion. That is because it only has a Colosseum at the center where you can 1v1 your friends and some enemies, and the next island is Magma Village. Important thing that you should get here is the Soul Cane Sword from the Living Skeleton NPC, which will be very important later on in the third sea when you decide to PvP. Now the Underwater City. Here you will buy an even better fighting style than the electric, which is the Water Kung Fu. You can buy it for 750k pelly from the Water Kung Fu teacher, and you will be set for the last two islands, Upper Sky Islands, and the Fountain City. And when you beat all these islands you are ready for the second sea, which I will explain how you can get to just in a second. But now the question is, what is the most optimal gear that will get you through these first sea islands the fastest and the easiest? Well, let's get to that. When it comes to gear you have a lot of options. There are multiple different fighting styles, swords and tons of fruits to choose from. But what is the best one for a beginner? Well, let's start with a fruit. So, when it comes to fruits you have generally three different fruit types: natural, elemental, and beast fruits. So what fruits are the best for first sea? Well, the best ones for the first sea are elemental, and there is no doubt in that. That is because of the dodging ability, which is insanely out for low-level players, and even high-level players honestly. But there are multiple different elemental fruits, and the best of them for you is Defiantly Light, as you may have expected. Why? Well, apart from really good moves which are easy to use, you have a sword that you can spam M1s and sweep through the enemies. And of course the flight ability will get you from an island to island in a few seconds literally. But before you're able to purchase light fruit, I recommend you to use smoke, because it still gives you that elemental advantage of dodging attacks for really low price. But now which fighting style and sword should you use? Well, if you stick with the light fruit that ain't going to be much important, but we will cover it anyways. So, for the fighting style I recommend getting the Dark Step and then Electro, if you are not using your fruit, and after that go with the Water Kung Fu. Just like I told you when I was explaining the islands. And for the swords it's very simple, just buy whatever sword you want at the starter island and then get the saber and stick with it throughout the whole first sea. Trust me, it's that good. And for the gun you will only need the cannon in order to enter the Upper Sky Islands. You can buy it from the advanced weapon dealer at the Marine Fortress Island for 100k pelly. Now, I talked about money and fragments throughout the whole video, but I didn't explain how to get them and how they work. So let's get to that. So the main currency in this game is money as well as fragments. You will need fragments in the second sea, but it will be really beneficial for you to know how to grind them fast before you go there. So, the main way of obtaining fragments for you will be doing raids. You will need to buy the chip from the mysterious scientist for either a physical fruit or 100k pelly. If you are buying with money there will be a 2 hours cooldown. And which raid should you pick? Well, raids will give you 300, 1000 fragments depending on how fast you complete it. So the fastest and easiest one in my opinion is the Flame Raid. So just repeatedly grind those and you will have tons of fragments. And when it comes to money there are a few different ways that you can earn it, and not every way is for everyone. So, if you want to know the best way for you to get millions of pelly and blox fruits, make sure you check out this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure you leave a like and a sub to let me know that I should make more useful videos like this one. Join our Roblox group. Thanks for watching and see you soon.